Hello and welcome to episode number 12 of Policy in Wonderland. I'm your host, Evitar Amira. You can call me Evie. In Policy in Wonderland, just like Alice, we are going to explore and see the wonderful world of insurance, insurtech, and everything that's connected to this amazing ecosystem. In Policy in Wonderland, you will meet startups from all over the world, key figures, brokers, and more. So without further ado, we travel today to Chicago, and I want to invite my guest to join me as we go down the rabbit hole. Please welcome Marcos Garcia Norris from Axon. Hello, Marcos.
Hello, Evie. Good to speak to you.
Great to see you again, my friend, and thank you for joining us today. And today we are going to explore what Exxon is really doing. But before Exxon, we want to discover about a bit about Marcus because you have a wonderful background. So please share with us.
Appreciate that, and I'll keep it short because once you get over the age of 50, you have to start cutting pieces out. If not, we'll be here all day long. Um, but with regards to my background a bit, so I was born in England but grew up in Spain, so I have that mixed background. Grew up in Madrid. That's my hometown. There I studied law, so I did a 5-year law degree. My father, the influence was my father, a marine lawyer, and I specialize
Mm,
in marine law. So that's what really got me attached and what links me to insurance, because anything
nice.
marine related is insurance related. And I started working as a lawyer, but
In
in
England.
Spain and
In Spain.
in Spain, yeah, in Madrid.
Wow.
So I started as a marine lawyer. And in Spain, as many European countries. But by the time that I started in 1994 to work as a marine lawyer, the fleets had moved to other countries. Flags of convenience, tax issues, etc. So there's very few fleets apart from fishing fleets that were left in Spain. So I was scratching my head and going, I'm not sure of the future of the marine lawyer in Spain, which led me to Generali, which was hiring a claims guy for their team, and that's how I got hooked onto the insurance side. So my origin is marine aviation and cargo as marine insurance from the claims point of view. Um,
What really got you in insurance, especially from the
so
claim side?
you want me to be sincere?
Yeah,
It
no,
was a
nobody
fixed
else. Just this is
it,
just
it
the
was
two
a
of us.
fixed salary every month. So
Okay, great.
maybe
And
in the
so,
long term, maybe I would have made more as a lawyer, but at the time when you're young, you want a fixed salary every
thanks.
month. So that's how I started insurance. And once if you study law and then you go into insurance, there's a lot behind. So the policies, especially you start on the claims side, interpreting the policies, the clauses, the exclusions. When you
Okay.
come out of law, it becomes a wonderful place to actually practice your
Totally
skills.
agree. I am also a lawyer, and this is the exact journey that I had. First, study law, and after that, go to insurance. I
Yeah.
think I am one of the freaks that really wanted to go to insurance. So, yeah, but my bigger brother has told me, first of all, go to study law, and after that, go to insurance.
Yeah. So the law is a
Makes
great
sense.
background. I don't regret it even to today, when I'm more on the underwriting side,
Hmm.
building a new contract, thinking about the liability. There's always that value that the legal background gives you. So
So,
I was in claims. I then changed to underwriting and same in Generali. And time went by. I tried the broking side also. I'll admit I'm not a good broker. That's not. It doesn't go with my DNA. I'm more on the underwriting
I love your
side.
honesty. Okay.
So, but I went back to the underwriting side with then AIG in Spain. So AIG was a small company for Spain, but it was a great school for learning. So I was underwriting marine in there, and that's where the big day, because I was on a temporary contract, just replacing maternity leave, and the CEO of the company at the time there locally said, "Hey, do you want to do crisis management?" And my reply was, "What's crisis management?" I had no idea what it was, and he said, "I have no idea. I just fired the guy that used to do it." So that's really, so when you say how did I arrive here, it was very accidentally. I think I have to thank the poor guy that was fired before me. Um, but that was really the start, and suddenly that opened. So jumping from marine to we suddenly I was given a few files, and in those files there was different types of products. So some of them were product recall, and the other ones were kidnap and ransom files. So all this opened a total new world of specialized insurance,
So
and ever since.
how you arrived to Axon Crisis Management?
Yeah, so I spent a few years in London underwriting for a couple of companies, then moved over to US to underwrite also crisis management for a big German company.
About the part time you had in London, we are going to do another episode. So
Excellent.
remember that.
Good.
So yeah.
Excellent. I like that. So I arrived in US and together. So the crisis management world is a very small world. So underwriters worldwide, I'm probably wrong, but there can't be more than 80. So worldwide, that's what you have in crisis management. It's a very niche area. So we
Very
were
niche.
working together. Axon is an MGA.
But
So
is
I
a
had
niche,
worked with,
sorry, Marcus, is a niche in
yeah,
the property and the P&L, the property and liability sector, or in
it,
niche in what sector?
I mean, it's a niche as an insurance line.
Okay.
It tends to lie either depends on which insurance company you're talking to. Some insurance companies have it within property because it's a
Okay.
short tail insurance, claims made.
Yeah.
Other companies have it with casualty because it interacts very well with general liability when you're selling the product. So it's niche across the lines because the buyer base is limited, and it's very specialized in the sense that um, the amount of premium that's out there doesn't allow every insurance company to go into it or any
Okay.
underwriter to jump into
Underwrite.
that line of business. So, but very specialized, and that's really where we were thinking. And when I say we, is a business partner at the moment, and some of the guys we were working with. It's great working with the big international insurance companies. Uh, some of them that I've worked at are fantastic. The structures they have, the ideas, the potential once they get onto pushing something. But when you're a specialist line, and in crisis management, in all the big companies, it's a small unit. And as I mentioned, it's either within property or within casualty. So you can be doing really well in your production and your loss ratios and how you're developing the book. But if your big brother or big sister, casualty or property, is having a bad year, you suffer the consequences. So and it tended to be, so if you're in US, which is the main base for Puerto Rico, for example, if casualty is having a bad year and they start increasing rates, cutting the appetite, etc., that has a direct impact. And it happened in 2 or 3 occasions in big companies where you're impacted by the change in direction of the casualty department. Um, Really not with no logic for the line of insurance that you're doing. So after a long time, we decided, look, it's time to really jump into the MGA arena. We know what we're doing, we know what we want to do, and concentrate in our line of business. And really, that's where is one of the things that the MGA allows you is to, if you get support, you can work, concentrate, and then there's no knock-on impact from casualty or property, either in good or bad. You'll survive if you're good, and you won't if you're not.
It's that
That's the
simple.
risk, but it's the luxury, right? So if you know what you're doing, you know how to underwrite, then you'll have a long life in the MGA world.
So you became an MGA after you have um, traffic, if I can say that. You have the experience in the market, and not just from day one you became an MGA.
Correct. So we
Yeah.
had, both myself and my business partner, we have over 20, 25 years underwriting experience
Yeah.
each in a specialized line in one way or the other. So it wasn't all crisis management, but I was in crisis management for nearly 15 plus years when that opportunity arose. So you know what you're doing and you have a business plan. When we decided to do it, the reality is there wasn't a lot of MGA activity in crisis management. So that's for product recall, especially. It was more with the big corporations. It's difficult to, as you know, within MGAs, or most MGAs don't retain their own capacity. So they have an insurance company that's supporting them. In our case, we have Nationwide and the Hartford, two very big US financially strong companies. When you take in a specialist line of business to a big corporation to give you a support, you have to explain why your business plan is going to be very good for a premium level that for them might be very, very small, to start off with. When you're talking about, well, we might develop 5, 10, 15 million, which for an MGA sounds great. For a big multi-billion insurance company, that's a tricky one. And product recall it tends to appear in the news a lot when things are going really bad. When they're recalling big food corporations, the losses are large.
But once you have the specialty and the experience, why not to become an MGA and management general underwriting? So, and just jump, to the MGA.
Yeah, it really was where the opportunity was lying at the time. So Axon as itself existed as a corporation. So when we created Axon Crisis Management, we didn't create everything from scratch. So Axon as itself had been open for nearly 10 years, in environmental, also specialist lines, environmental, cargo, middle market packaging. So we joined something that was already existing with a structure behind that's allowed us to, from day one, start doing business. As I was mentioning,
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So it's not that easy to say, hey, I want to do this with product recall and crisis management. Sometimes you have to find, okay, what can I do more than what do I want to do, and then develop it from there. This
is my next question. What are the products? But you right now, Axon is on the US market and Latin also, right? Or
so US market mainly. So we have a unit that does the cargo that does go into the Latin American market. They do a bit of reinsurance and direct insurance there. But all the rest is US domiciled, US based, which really is home for our products, because when I was in London, we were doing 90% was US business. So it was very, very few European accounts or, some Israeli accounts we did have, but mainly it was US business driven. So to be actually on the other side and doing it locally, first you accelerate your learning process and what's good and what's bad and who's who. But it's US based is the largest one for these specialist products.
So what products are within the crisis management in insurance?
So there's a few, and some insurance companies add a couple more, but really crisis management as a whole. So you have product recall is one of the big ones in there. And when we say product recall, you're talking about food and beverage companies. You're talking about consumer goods, so your electronics, toys, furniture. You're talking about automotive recall, which is a very large line of business also. So those three product recall policies, slightly different, but the losses covered are pretty similar. You've got those. You've got a new joiner that's we're pushing a lot, which is foodborne illness. So that's really insurance for restaurants. And I was interested, you had a company the other day very involved in insurance, in the restaurant insurance business. So foodborne illness is growing a lot. Then we have kidnap and ransom, which goes many years back. So kidnap and ransom is insurance and crisis management, and political violence and terrorism. So they're slightly different products, but they all originated. And if you read the policies, Well, we're talking as a lawyer, you detect this DNA from the original kidnap and ransom appearing in the other policies, like product extortion, for example. Product
I
extortion
like it.
appears in
You
all
gave
the coverage.
me. I like it. You gave me right now homework. So yeah, I'm going to explore it.
I want to give you a lot of homework.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I just write it
So,
down.
I mean, the DNA is very similar in those products. And why are they all bunched together? Well, it's very simple. So the crisis management insurance, it's an insurance that when an incident happens, you need to react as quickly as possible. In the same scenario as a contaminated donut manufacturer, so someone's been kidnapped. You have to react fast. There's consultants that come in and help you out with expertise in a very difficult situation. So all those are packed together, and that's crisis management insurance. You can have a few more that are, go more into the covering marketing and specialized consultants in public relations. But those really are the crisis management insurance products.
Let's dig in a couple of use cases that you had in the, especially from the food recall or electronic recall
Yeah.
and the foodborne.
And foodborne illness. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. A
So
couple
a
of
few
you.
cases you
Yeah,
mentioned. Yeah, I mean, sadly, there's a lot. I mean, you only have to Google recall and your screen will be full.
I just
So
imagine Ratatouille, the movie, the Disney movie
yeah,
Ratatouille, that you have mice in the kitchen, and and this
well,
is exactly what you are going, what you are doing.
funny enough, and you mentioned cases. So if you go to the LinkedIn, so we post that things that we see, and today we
Yeah.
just posted. So there's a manufacturing location in California that's one of the inspections has detected rodents, birds, all sorts of stuff that shouldn't be in the manufacturing location. Um, and they're obviously going through the inspection activity at the moment. So that's recent. That's just been published this week. So that would be a case in foodborne when the manufacturing location is not ideal for production. It could be a lot of times it's human error. So
Mhm.
employees they drop a pen into the production line. It's plastic and it gets caught, or they drop an earring that they shouldn't be wearing and it drops into the production line. It could be. Sorry, go ahead.
Just let me see if I understand. So the human error, it dropped a pan during the process. Okay. Right now, they need to stop the process, and then what? They call Marcus?
So yeah, so if they detect it so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
so they could call the consultant if they want. Hey, we've got this situation. Is there anything you can recommend? Most of these manufacturing locations have good quality teams,
Mm-hmm.
and so when they just say, hey, there's some plastic or there's some metal, they stop the production, they remove it. So normally when everything happens within the manufacturing site, it tends to be a very controlled loss or incident for them. The problem is not all machinery has plastic detectors or visual detectors. So a pen going in through and then it's chopped up into small pieces could go all the way to the shops and to the consumers. And suddenly you have consumers saying, hey, this is a piece of plastic, even if it's small, in their donut or their bagel. That's when the situation gets more complicated. The product's out, they have to recall it, and this is something that's if you develop a supply chain, so all the manufacturing companies, they create a process, you manufacture a product, and you send it to someone. Reversing that is not really in the process. So bringing a product back is going against everything that you're set up for. So you have to send someone to pick it up. It might be different trucks. It can't be the same distribution that's mixing product with the good product. Where do you store it, especially if it's a dangerous product? Do you take it to a warehouse? Do you keep it so the inspector can see it and you destroy it? So there's a lot of questions. Normally, we will get a call depending on the level of the incident. If it's a small incident, a few units have been sent out that recovered them. they will send a notification for loss as a normal insurance claim. Hey, we had this incident. The cost might be this level. We had to clean the production line. We had to remanufacture the product. Those are normally more contained. If you have a situation where it's a big firm, a big brand, they've released a lot of product, let's say peanut butter with salmonella. That's a classic case. And that's gone out. There's people that are ill. That product has been mixed with other products. So I discovered in one of the last ones, I didn't realize that chicken had peanut butter in it in a lot of products. So, peanut butter is used in thousands of mixes. So when you're a big brand and your product is sold out, sometimes it's not about recalling your unit. It's being mixed with other products that need to be destroyed. You have to inform consumers. You have to stop your line of production. That's a complicated one. Then they definitely call the hotline. It's 24/7 at an earlier stage, and they might get some assessment from the consultant. Hey, do you know where we can send this to storage? Do you know any logistics company? We're publishing this for the authorities to read. What do you think? How does this read? Any ideas? So they get a bit of a support from the consultant to help them out, depending on the level of the client. Lots of clients know exactly how to recall a product. They're very well trained, and they will just notify for insurance purposes. Medium and smaller companies, maybe it's the first recall they undergo, and they really get stuck. And saying the wrong thing, and this is classical public relations training. Saying the wrong thing at the beginning can damage your brand beyond repair. It's
like number one lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's amazing how that lesson hasn't been learned by too many.
They are your customer, the small medium.
We have customers from all the way. Normally, we tend to say 25 million in sales revenue. That's normally where we start looking at insurance. Simply because in the underwriting process, you want to make sure that there is a quality process in place, a recall plan. And very small companies, they're working to sell a product and to survive. They don't have a full-blown quality manager, a crisis management manager. It gets to a certain level of company when you get that structure and when you can really start underwriting and checking the documentation that they have. So I would say from 25 million to multi-billion companies, that's really in food and beverage and also in electronics and toys and furniture. That's also the area.
Furniture. Give me an example on furniture.
Furniture. So there's a lot of US import companies. So they're importing, and imagine your furniture has glass on it, and whether the glass is resistant enough. There's cases of lamps hanging from the ceiling falling because the structure is not strong enough. So anything that can lead to an injury or a person getting injured. IKEA, which is all over the world, had a nightmare with their recall cabinets falling off and actually trapping children in because children were climbing up and the furniture would fall. So they went through a whole public arena with the recall side.
So the client get to Axon and then buy the policy from Axon, right?
Yeah. So the clients normally will go through a broker. It is a line of insurance where there is an insurance broker involved in most cases. So we will normally talk with brokers. We will meet with larger clients at specific events or when we're visiting their installations. So when they invite us to visit. But normally it's the brokers that we're dealing more, and they bring the clients to us.
Okay, and then you do your assistance and the recovery plan, and you dig in what kind of recall program you have.
Yeah, so we will in the underwriting process we receive there's about 5 or 6 documents that are pretty standard. And normally it's on the quality side and recall side. So how prepared is the insured for recall? both in food and non-food. So, if something goes wrong, have you thought about the steps? And we look at that documentation, same as we will look at who are your suppliers, and what is your business continuity? Because the problem, good thing with larger companies, they have more locations. So if they had to shut down temporarily one factory, they can divert production, or they can get other suppliers to supply product for them. If you only have one line of production, and you have a contamination in that line of production, you will be shut down until you manage to clean it. And if
I want to interrupt right now, because right now this is the most important point when you are going to buy, for example, business interruption. Mm-hmm. Because the carrier usually don't know how many supplier you are in contact with. So once you have a problem, okay, once the manufacturer is shut down and you're depending only on one supplier, you are in a big problem, especially from the business interruption policy. So once you Axon involved in the process, and this is what the most interesting, I think I told you with the conversation with you, is that you are on the supply chain. You not just give coverage, or you tell them what kind of terms and conditions they have. No, you are going and examine all the process, all the suppliers that involve in with the customer, end to end.
Yes, yes and no. So in the ideal world, yes. So we would love if you have a new client, you say, hey, give me a list of all your suppliers and all your clients. It's difficult, simply because, first of all, there's a level of confidentiality that's right. The clients want to offer, but they don't want to give you all your the client base, and we can't really push them in that direction. So normally most underwriters are looking at, okay, tell me your top 5 suppliers to get a feel of where your production is coming from, if it's within US, it's international, and what sort of suppliers you have. And then your top 5 clients, because you want to know where that product is going. Is it big clients that then use the product, or is it end consumers, or is it shops that sell it? That gives you a very good feel for the risk exposure that you have. So we try our best, and this is where IT has really been helping lately. So and that's something that we developed within Axon once we arrived. So one of the problems we always had, and you'll find this in a lot of lines of insurance, is you might have the information for the top 5 suppliers and the top 5 clients for all of your clients, but when there's a loss, knowing what the exposure is for all your clients, it takes some time and some work. It's saying like property insurance. If there's an earthquake, how many buildings do I have insured in an area? So we've managed. We started from day one to say, okay, here we're going to really make an effort to try and track suppliers, and we did start building our database, which has all the suppliers. And if there is a loss with a specific company, we will first look at that database and see, okay, how many of our insureds are impacted by this supplier, or how many clients. So it gives you a bit of a overview of your exposure. Awesome. And when we're underwriting, it also helps us, okay, look, we have too much geographical exposure, let's say in Iowa, as an example, too much geographical exposure in Iowa for the bakery industry. So you start saying, okay, well, as an underwriter, you want to spread, the exposure that you have. Okay, let's continue doing bakery, but not in that area, because if there's one supplier of flour in Iowa that supplies incorrect products, the probabilities we're going to be hit in more than one place. So that sort of information, and we set up from the beginning. We had a wish list from things that we always try to have, and most of the time it's just Excel sheets and trying to keep them together. So now we've got the system in place to try and see the supply chain for that client and for all our book of business to try and manage that a bit better. And it's still a very difficult task.
it's a difficult task, but once you begin to handle this task and understand that you need to tackle it, because I think a lot of carriers don't have, I want to be like a diplomatic, but don't have the sense to make that kind of Excel, for example. I have
Yeah,
from the one hand I have this insureds, and from the other end I have and those insureds, and how they collaborate, how they, if they, it's insured A is connect to insured B with the
yeah,
supply chain, and you
yeah,
doing this exact thing. So it's
yeah. It's and in favor of insurance carriers, they in the units that we work, we've always tried, and we see other lines of business. They try to do it, but the problem with big corporations is the IT systems are not flexible for what you want to do, but they're set up to do
it's
insurance business across all the world, all US,
yeah,
and they're very good at that. But then if you say, hey, I want to add the supplier database, then that becomes problematic and expensive um, for a solution. So that's why most of the time it's very difficult to do your smaller projects that for you as a crisis management underwriter say, look, this is very important for us. You know, within the overall overview of a big international corporation, it's a very small project versus, you know, they're trying to get insurance policies on time to
mm-hmm.
automotive consumers all around the world. You really can't fight with that sort of effort. In the NGA, you can. In the NGA, you say, look, this is what I need. This is where I invest my money, and you push forward because you know how many times have we used that database? In the 4 years that we've been active, I would say about 10 times we've rushed to it to see, oh, okay, this company sounds familiar. And actually, the relief of knowing exactly where the suppliers are or the clients are, it helps you manage your business day to day. So we've used it about 10 times in emergency, and it's there growing on a daily basis when you underwrite. So all the underwriting team knows where to go and check. Hey, this company I've seen already 3 or 4 times. We know it's a good company, but are we overexposed
Yeah,
in this area? Or maybe we've had situations where we had to decline an insured that we really like because we already insure the supplier, or the other way around. You know, you don't want to be doing the supplier and the client at the same
exactly.
time. So sometimes you have to say, I'm sorry, we were too exposed. So it's you need another carrier for that
What is
risk.
a pre-event services?
So pre-event is what we would call the crisis consultants.
Okay.
So crisis consultants are attached to all these crisis management products. It started again. This is the DNA with kidnap and ransom. So another day we can go into that. But kidnap and ransom, the main thing is the negotiator, which they make very sexy in Hollywood and everything. They're all very good looking, and which they are. All my
You
consultant friends,
also,
they're
man, you
extremely
also.
good looking.
You also,
So
Marcus. So yeah.
thank you. Yes, yes, we should be consultants. But so the main drive of kidnap and ransom is having an expert to negotiate a kidnap. So that takes a lot of expertise. They're very expensive, and for a reason, because they're sitting there until something happens. They have to drop everything and then go and spend 3 months in a Latin American country negotiating. That's adapted into the DNA of the prior recall, which is, hey, prior recall doesn't happen that often. So when it does happen, it's good to have someone you can bounce ideas off. And actually, so we retain a consultant called RQA. They're independent, and this is the important thing in these
What is
policies.
RQA?
RQA is a company that
Mhm.
actually just specializes on prior recall, and
Okay.
anything related to prior recall, they do. And it's not part of Axon, and it's not part of the insurance company,
Uh-huh.
because we tell our clients, look, if you want help from a consultant, it's not our claims department.
Uh-huh.
You go to them, you can tell them whatever you want. That's anonymous. So if you have a problem
Mm.
internally, and you're saying, look, this is a bit confidential, and I really don't want to share it with insurance company for whatever reason. They can share that with the consultants, knowing that that's not going to come to us as a claim. It won't increase their premium because suddenly the information they shared is making the risk worse. So the consultants are independent, and what they do is they assess during an incident, but in pre-event, it's from day one of the insurance policy. And there's a few insurance products out there that's, I think some of the automotive insurance courses, for example, policies, you can get some driving training or specialized training for when it's very rainy or icy. So that's a bit the concept. How can you improve your risk from day one? So I think this is quite an intelligent way of, first of all, you're helping the clients. You say, hey, we have experts that go through product recalls every day with all sorts of clients. They deal with the authorities, they deal with regulations, they deal with laboratories to test products. So from day one, we're offering you back 10% of your net premium to use. So if you're a big company, that's a lot of consultancy money. Medium-sized company, they can have a 1 day with a consultant. And what the pre-event consultant will do is, okay, do you have any concerns? Is there anything you want me specifically to assist? It could be documentation. So they might have a product recall plan or a crisis management plan. They put together, they Googled it, they put it together and say, hey, we want an expert to look at this. So they will sit down and give them some tips. It could be a training scenario. So mock scenarios, and these are great fun to participate when it's not something real. So they will actually, the consultant will create scenario. They will be in the location, and they will say, okay, we've detected this product is contaminated. And then they let the clients deal with the situation. They call in the quality manager, they call it, and you see how it develops. And the consultant at the end of the day will tell them, you can improve a bit your public relations side, or, one of the typical errors is, here's the list of people that are in your crisis management team. Well, this person was on vacation. So, and there wasn't an alternative in your plan. What happens in these scenarios? And that happens in reality, We've had scenarios where everything was locked up in the room, and the person had gone on vacation, so all the documentation, everything, and no one could get in to access that. So thinking those scenarios helps the client develop their plan, a few modifications in the plan, the procedures, so they can test that. They can get some support on any legislation that's changed. So that's the idea. From day one, you can get some support, prepare better. It helps the clients, and it also helps the insurers, of course, because you're reducing the risk. If something goes wrong, first you're reducing the probabilities, but if it does go wrong, the interaction and reaction to recall, especially if you've done a live mock recall situation where everyone is tested, next time you'll do much better in those scenarios. So that's a pre-event crisis consultancy. So it's a great part of this insurance.
Let's go back to the hospitality sector.
Yeah.
On the pre-chat, we talk about workplace violence and the sick pay time.
Yes.
Let's talk about workplace violence in restaurants, especially.
Yeah. So and especially US, it's something that's it's on the news constantly. Again, if you watch any YouTube channel, you have the probability of seeing violence in restaurants is very high. So workplace violence, which is an insurance in itself.
Sorry, we also talked that about the bear from the show The Bear, in that screen in Chicago. There is all the examples that you say right now. There is on the show, on the series. A great series.
This is the day-to-day, and again, so it took me some time to realize, as a European moving to US, some of the there's some cultural changes that you have to adapt to, and workplace violence, in Spain where I grew up, it's not that common in restaurants, and it could be bars if there's alcohol, but that's always going to be a danger zone for all lines of insurance. But there's less in restaurants. Here it's slightly more common, and it's a mix. So it's a mix of employees sometimes being overburnt. Sometimes low paid salaries, and we'll mix that later when we talk about sick pay. But that they're on day-to-day basis, that they're working long hours, and sometimes they just explode. So it could be an employee that gets involved in the violence to themselves within the location. But most of the time it's customers coming into fast food restaurants and being aggressive, attacking employees, throwing stuff, tables, chairs, anything that's could hurt. So that is a big part of the hospitality area. Restaurants are exposed, and there's cases practically daily where you see most of them minor, but it does sometimes get to the point, when weapons, guns, and knives get involved, and a client comes in with a gun. In occasions, it has nothing to do with the restaurant. So the situations that's late at night, places that are open 24 hours a day, and a gunfight, develops inside a restaurant that has nothing to do with the employees, but someone shot or injured within the restaurant. So that is an element of the restaurant exposure that is covered with a foodborne illness. So it's an element because it leads to business interruption. So you might have to close. Most of the time, the restaurants don't need to close after violence. It might be an hour or two if the police needs to check anything. But if someone's been shot or someone's been injured, it could be a day or two before everything's clarified. The police have all the statements. Everything's cleaned up. So that develops into a loss of business for the restaurants. So that's something that goes very close to American business development in the restaurant industry.
And the sick pay time.
Sick pay time.
It's very related, as you mentioned.
Yeah. So when we were talking about this line of insurance, because foodborne really, when most people think, oh, okay, foodborne and contamination in a restaurant, you think about the food being contaminated by the supplier had the eggs with salmonella, and it made people ill. The problem is, in a lot of the occasions, is the employees in the kitchen either not following the procedures and washing their hands correctly, or they've mixed products, a product that could have salmonella, and then they've been touching other products without washing their hands. So that's the typical scenario. However, a lot of the employees in US, when they get sick and they know they're sick, they go into work, because contrary to maybe, I'm not sure about Israeli regulations, but definitely in most of Europe, if you're sick, you get sick pay for a number of days.
Also in Israel, it's not 100% from day one. It depends on the contracts, but the regulation is from day one. If I remember correctly, it's 75%.
Yes.
And 50%, and then it up to 100% after 3 days.
Yeah.
But you're getting paid, yeah.
But you're getting paid, which is
sorry. There is a places that on day one you don't get paid, okay?
Right.
And from the second one, only from the second day.
Yeah. Okay. So it depends by regulation.
Yeah.
One of the things in US, and that's has improved massively. So that's the great news is we're looking, and the report, probably I'll send you the link so you can publish that. So it's AmericanProgress.org. They keep an eye on how this is developing. So good news is that about 50% of the employees now in restaurants have access to sick pay. So that's 50%, which makes you wonder, that's still a very large number that doesn't have access to sick pay. So there's 15 states in the United States that have mandatory sick pay. So that's 15. So there's still quite a few states to go. It doesn't mean that all the restaurant chains where it's not mandatory, don't pay it. So there are very good employers that will offer sick pay, even though it's not mandatory. But in the smaller restaurants, imagine the one restaurant owner that is really pushing the finances, and that they can't survive if they're paying the sick pay. It's a very tough industry. So when you have a low paid employee that has no sick pay, and they have, maybe it could be a basic cold, but if they have norovirus and they go to work and they're touching food, that will spread like wildfire. All the other employees, customers, and you see a lot of cases being reported of employee with norovirus, was
But
working in the
how
kitchen.
you as Exxon help to the restaurant with the sick pay?
So not with the sick pay. So it's one of the causes
Yeah.
of the losses. So it's one of the coverages. So having an employee that's touched food that could be, that this has norovirus, that's going to trigger a problem in the kitchen. You might have to shut it down, clean it, and you might have to shut the place for 1 or 2 days. You will have to inform clients. So, I mean, the insurance can help with assisting the restaurant and advising them how to proceed. Most of the restaurants know the steps when an illness is detected, or salmonella or listeria. They know how to react to it. So at that stage, it's already a loss insurance. It's very little help we can do in those stages. We can get involved with pre-events. So that's, with smaller restaurants, that's where, again, the same service is available. It's like, okay, we've seen your documentation. Do you want us to assist you a bit with what happens if an employee is ill, or how to report this, how to train your employees to know when they're sick enough to not go into work. So sick pay is one of the big causes of losses in that industry.
I like how you connect the dots between the non-insurance and the insurance topics, because I can sell you workers' compensations and I can sell you coverage like business interruption and etc. But you're coming from the opposite side, like, and say, let's think what caused to the claims. Okay, what caused, why to take action from the business interruption coverage, for example, like this, and let's explore about the sick time. Let's explore about the violence in restaurants. How this affect on the coverage side, and not just selling insurance, but to think why it's happened.
Yes, and that's so.
This is like common sense. This is like common sense, but it's not. You know what I mean?
It's it's funny you mention like that, because a foodborne illness for restaurants is one of the newer products. It's been out there for 10 years as an insurance product, but a lot of the clients were not buying it. It was not getting traction, and it's simply because the product that we're selling originated from a product recall insurance. So it was an extension. Say, well, it was actually called product recall for restaurants. And you say, well, there's no recall. And if you read those policies, again, the DNA of the recall policy is 90% on the restaurant one originally. You see, okay, well, there's all these coverages for recall. And the restaurant doesn't recall. But they tell you, hey, destroy this product, don't send it back. Exactly. Come, we'll give you a voucher or a coupon. So
this is only from the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
The recall. Yeah.
So it's manufacturing side. But in a restaurant, so when we bumped into that, and originally we're following sort of the same path, because that's the insurance product that's we had in the big insurance companies. Then we went like, this doesn't make any sense. We're not covering what the clients need. And that's why the clients are not buying the insurance. Then people don't buy insurance just for fun. Oh, I've got this budget. I will spend it and some random insurance policy. For foodborne illness, we worked hard on identifying, okay, what is necessary? What are the restaurant owners concerned about? And when we set up Axon Crisis Management, it was 2020. So you might remember COVID
Yeah, something
at the
happened
time.
there.
So we can do a different call, and I'll tell you about a book we want to write on how to set up a company during a pandemic. It's it's very different to the normal process. But COVID, so we were developing that product, and COVID impacted restaurants like many industries to the extreme. There was no clients going in. They had to change the model. A lot of them closed. So when you speak to a restaurant owner, the situation of having to close for 1 or 2 days or three until they adapted, that had never crossed their mind. It had to be a very extreme case. Over COVID, thousands and thousands of restaurants were forced into this scenario, and they know that the pain of closing a restaurant for 1 or 2 days. So we said, okay, well, this is really where the insurance is. The business interruption, you have to close down. But what are the scenarios? So, okay, you have your food coming in could be contaminated. You contaminated yourself. And then we bumped into an area it's called unsanitary conditions, which was not covered anywhere. This has just been matched now by one of our competitors, and we're talking about four years down the line. If you go to a restaurant, Evie, and the table's all filthy and the forks are dirty, and you go to the restroom and you're going, oh my goodness, what is this? You probably turn around and you walk out. So unsanitary conditions is when the restaurant, it might not be so obvious, but if the restaurant owner detects, hey, we've been using the wrong cleaning product, or we've been using the wrong process of cleaning in the kitchen, or that the tables are dirty enough that illnesses can develop, that's an unsanitary condition. And that a restaurant owner can understand, because if there's a new employee, so again, if we relate it to sick pay, low pay jobs, there's a lot of turnaround. So you keep training employees. They might not be cleaning correctly. And suddenly you have a customer saying, hey, I'm finding hairs in my food, and all sorts of ugliness and that can lead to an unsanitary condition. Normally, it's going to be something that can lead to illness, but it wasn't covered. It was all linked to, well, you eat something, you become sick, and like, well, you don't always have to eat something to become sick. Your table could be dirty enough, and it could have norovirus on the table. You still haven't eaten the hamburger, and you're ill already. So unsanitary conditions was a big gap that we found in that coverage. Healthcare events was another one, and this is directly linked to COVID. So a series of illnesses that can close your location, your restaurant, because the customer or an employee that's had that illness has been in your location. This normally develops when there's someone that's had a contagious disease, and when they report it they go to hospital, they report it, hey, where did you go? Oh, well, I had dinner at this burger place, and then I've been here and that place. Normally they will try and track that down. It could impact your business. You could either have cleaning costs, or you might have to shut down depending on the seriousness of the illness. So that's healthcare event when the authorities get involved, and they basically you have to shut down. And again, norovirus could be one of those cases. I mean, there's a listed series of illnesses and bacteria. So those areas you start pinpointing more, and the restaurant owners say we have a lot of that. That's something that's now we understand why we need this insurance.
Exactly,
yeah,
you speak
their
language.
language, exactly. And it's also one important element in most of the crisis management products, the prior recall and foodborne illness. And this is where it links very well with general liability. So general liability, the insurance policy triggers when there's a damage. Right? So you've killed someone, you've hurt someone, you've destroyed someone's property. In the crisis management policies, is the potential of causing damage or bodily injury. That triggers the policy. You're still in an area that's, if we think about the manufacturer before with the donuts, they know there's a piece of plastic in the donut. The donut's being sent out. if you report it to general liability policy, first question is like, is anyone injured? Is any damage?
Exactly.
If not, it's not your line of insurance. Prior recall covers that area. So the potential of causing bodily injury or property damage triggers the policy. It fills in a gap that general liability is not covering. So they interact very, very nicely. Once GL triggers and there is property damage, then they start taking over from that line insurance. So it gives you confidence. And the same with restaurants. You don't need a customer to be ill. You don't need anyone to be hurt.
Exactly.
Is the potential is like, actually, we have an employee with norovirus and they've been cooking all day. That triggers the policy. It's not a question of waiting for someone to fall ill. So it fills in a very, very necessary area in the insurance. And the supply chain of insurance, you have something this is the pre-GL area of insurance. It covers a lot.
So as we near to the end, yeah, until the next show, until the next. Are there any final thoughts that you would like to share?
Well, I would say so. MGAs, because I've seen your previous one. I've only seen 10 of them. So let me. I think I'm missing one in between.
Yeah. Number 11. It will be online tomorrow.
Okay, so I'll catch up and see. But you mentioned so MGAs a lot. So the world of the MGAs, and one of the things that I heard the other day that made me think. So someone was talking about something totally different. And are you familiar with Dyson, the machine, the Hoover machines, vacuum cleaners?
The vacuum cleaner, yeah.
Yeah, so Dyson. So and the comment that this guy said is like, Dyson didn't invade. Yeah.
Just a sec. I had a bad communication right now. Go back and start over about the Dyson.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
So what this guy was saying is that Dyson did not invent the vacuum cleaner. He just made it better. And that's what suddenly clicked to me. Is like, MGAs didn't invent insurance. In some areas, they make it better. And it's the areas where the big corporations maybe cannot adapt for logical reasons, because it's a very niche product that's, for example, in crisis management, we're 7 underwriters in our small companies. That's a lot of stuff for a big company that thinks, well, actually, if you're going to make less than 50 million in premium, I can't have that sort of headcount. So the MGA fills in a space where you can do a very specialist niche product that is necessary for the industry, and you can do it better simply because the bigger corporations cannot concentrate the resources on that sort of level. So that's something that stuck with me. With MGAs didn't invent insurance, but they make it better.
Love that. Okay. The vacuum, all the risks.
Yes.
Marcus, thank you very much. Till next time.
It's a
you
pleasure.
already promised.
Anytime you want.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.